Sports really can be a massive foundation for learning a lot about who you are. And I think the original steps for young kids is just having fun. If we can all live sports through the eyes of children, you'll realize why it's important.
It's an outlet emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically.
Quality sport programs can teach them life skills such as communication, goal setting, resiliency, how to cope with stress.
It's concerning that there's kids out there that can't even pay their registration fees, that can't get equipment, and those are the things that are holding them back from, learning all the lessons that sports gives you.
At KidSport, we help kids be kids, and it's the most simple and the most beautiful program. We help kids access sport by subsidizing the registration fees, and these are kids that wouldn't otherwise have that opportunity.
We're engaging these young people to learn their limits and to learn that that limit is a glass ceiling that we can break through. And so we're transferring that to all parts of their life.
Sometimes you feel like giving up because it's hard. We always remember that there's a bigger goal in front of us. That's the perseverance and determination that's needed to do this.
And that pride that comes with it after they've accomplished something. You can't even explain it. You can't put words to it.
What a better way to create a sense of inclusion and community and future for Edmonton through getting kids onto a team with diverse backgrounds so they can learn to work together, listen, communicate.
Isn't this the type of thing we want to be teaching all the people around us?
In addition to this beautiful sense of belonging and community that these kids are going to be receiving from playing sport, that alone makes them feel loved and cared for, and alone within that is going to make them flourish. An End Poverty stat showed us there's 34,000 kids living in poverty in Edmonton alone.
With low-income youth, they're inactive a lot of the times because they can't afford to participate.
What I really like about KidSport is we're saying to the parents, you are taking care of so much and you're doing a fantastic job. Let us just help in this one small way.
The ripple effect impacts so many other kids and families and adults and teachers and coaches in the community.
With the doors being open through sport, we're able to end the cycle of poverty that my family lived in for decades upon decades. I think the great thing about sport is that by nature you have a support network of both coaches and peers, and I believe that any kid who has the opportunity to play sport then has the opportunity to have that mentorship and have a positive influence in their life, which they might not have outside of sport.
There's never a quiet moment in our house. Generally, they're tired when they get home after playing a couple hours of sports, so it's helpful for dad and mom to put them to bed.
If they can't register, it doesn't matter if they have a pair of soccer shoes. You got to get registered.
And that's where your money's going, is you're going to get a KidSport kid onto the field to get their foot into the game.
It's super special to them. You can see that they are super grateful and appreciative of a program like that.
When I think about kids sport, I don't ever even think about kids having the opportunity to play sport. I think about kids having the opportunity to change their lives.
It's like being able to give people like hope for something more.
Got it to Larocque, a break, George is in, scores! George Larocque!
George Larocque played 14 years of pro hockey, most of them with the Edmonton Oilers. His hard-charging persona on the ice, combined with his easygoing personality off it, made him a hugely popular player. But Big George is also well known for his support of charities and social causes, and we're very happy to have George headline our first online fundraising event for KidSport Edmonton, a night with KidSport featuring George Larocque, presented by the Love Boys. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Conley, the host of tonight's event. I'm the morning show host here in Edmonton for Edmonton AM and CBC Sports. And I'm also on the board of KidSport, so I'm glad to be part of this fundraiser tonight. Before we get to the big fella, who's our featured entertainer tonight, if we can call him that, just a few things to remind you tonight. There is a chat function on this event. So you can press the bubble, you can send us messages and exchange messages with each other, maybe ask some questions you might want me to put to George tonight. I want to thank you for supporting this tonight. We've already raised over $30,000, so we're hoping that's going to go up tonight with more donations. There's also some prizes for you. There's a door prize, so you just have to sit back and watch, and we may draw your name a little later tonight. So stick around at the end, see if that happens, and that's sponsored by Juicy Wine and Polar Park Brewery. They've donated some stuff that you might win. We'll also have like 45 minutes or so of stories from George. We got Marty Reisner joining us, Jason Strudwick as well. And then the show might go into overtime tonight. We're not limited to 8 o'clock, so we might go a little bit into overtime. So watch for that. And if you weren't able to attend tonight, or you know somebody else who wants to watch it, after 24 hours, the recorded version will be available to you. And then we'll send you how you can get to that, and you can share it with some other folks, and maybe they will also join us in making a donation to Kidsport. So without further ado, let's welcome the man of the hour, live from Montreal, Les Premières Étoiles, Georges Laraque. Hey, George.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
It's good, and thank you so much for doing this tonight. How do you feel about this whole evening and what you might face tonight?
You know, first of all, that's why Edmonton is the best city to live in Canada, I think. What this charity is doing for the kids in Edmonton is just awesome. To be part of it, even though I'm in Montreal, I come back to Edmonton a lot, and to be part of the community like this, to join you guys for such a great cause to help out the kids, and to getting grilled also tonight is probably going to make you laugh. I could respond to any grilling, but Mark, thank you for inviting me for this event. It's a great idea that you had. You're actually the first star because you put this together.
Well, not
you
me.
Called me
There's a whole group.
Yeah, the whole group. But you called me and you asked me, you told me about it, and I was like, you know what? Edmonton has given me so much. I was drafted by them in '95. I owe so much to this city, so to be part of a great event like this to help out kids, I owe it to you guys, Edmonton. So you don't even have to thank me for it. I'm just happy to be here. I think it's our duty to everybody that played in Edmonton for so long, that took so much for the fans. You know, the job that I had, I needed their energy to do what I did, and to give it back to them, to me, is just natural.
And I'll tell everybody, when I phoned George and I told him what we wanted to do and how we were going online with this event, because, you know, everything had been canceled because of COVID. We had some really successful roasts over the year. And George said right away, yes, I'll do it. So we're so glad you did, George. Now, the first part of it, we're gonna talk to some kids and get some questions for you. But also a little later, Jason Strudwick and Marty Reisner are going to join us. Now, Marty was your teammate with the Oilers.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little background about what Marty was like in the dressing room?
Marty was one of the funniest guys I've ever played with. He's the type of guy that, you know, every time he came into the dressing room, he was funny, he was making joke, and we're always picking on each other because we played together, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, nobody wants to play with me because I'm in the fourth line, right? Everybody wants to graduate. So playing with him, you know, warming up the bench sometimes with him and making jokes in the bench. No, we're pretty close. I went to his wedding too. So just let you know how close. Actually, the whole team, we were a tight family because back then we were flying commercial, and you know, we had no money. So the fact that the team was so tight together, that's what makes us so hard to play against, because everybody went to war. We're competing against those big market teams that had tons of money. We had nothing. The first year we got someone aspiring, we made it to the final. So,
right.
But it was just to play with Marty. He was my center, unfortunately for him. For a while, but we had tons of fun. We were always laughing, smiling, and I was a clown too. I was always joking around also. I was like, to me, it was so important because the real me, that's what it was. I'm always a guy that was always laughing and driving guys nuts when, you know, the job that I was doing was totally the opposite, right?
Right.
So I was able to unleash when I was in the dressing room and when I was joking around with the guys, because, man, when I was on the ice, it was all business. And I can't believe I did that for a living. Sometimes when I look back at what I've done, I feel fortunate that today I'm fine and I've never suffered a concussion from it. And I feel really good about it today. But there's a lot of guys that did this job that are not as fortunate as I am today. So I feel fortunate.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, we'll talk a little bit about that. But, you know, we've got some great questions to kick it off from some of the kids who we got to ask you some questions. So they're going to ask their questions, and then just in case it's not quite clear, I will repeat those for you. But so here are a few local kids with some questions. The first questions come from Lucas and Sophia.
Hi, Josh. My name's Sophia. My name's Lucas. We have a
You guys are so
question for you.
cute.
If you hadn't played hockey, what else would you have done?
There you go.
You guys are so cute, by the way. That is awesome with the Oilers. You guys are rocking the Oilers jersey way better than I'm rocking the Orange Cross jersey. That's awesome. I was actually studying to be a lawyer. It's my passion. Yeah, and I'm still considering going to law school. All my years when I went to schooling, most of my friends are actually lawyers. Really good friends in Edmonton that are lawyers, and my good friend Sid Turbin passed away. He was a lawyer too in Edmonton, and that was really hard on me because it was like a father to me when I played in Edmonton. But yeah, I just love the law, something that I've always loved, and yeah, that's what I was studying to be, because you never know. There's nothing guaranteed, right? When you say you're going to play in the NHL while you're younger, but that's what I was striving to be. But if it's not over yet, I love projects, so this could still be a goal one day.
Could still happen. So thanks to Lucas and Sophia for that question. All right, here's another one for you, George, from Bruce and Clancy.
Hi, George. I'm Bruce. This is my little brother, Clancy.
Hello.
I was wondering, George, how can we make the NHL more inclusive? Thanks. Bye, George.
There you go. That's a pretty deep question.
They are so cute. Yeah, they are so cute. Actually, what this foundation is doing is something that is making the NHL more inclusive, because, you know, by getting equipment to as many kids as you can, you make hockey more inclusive to all the kids that would want to play that couldn't afford it, and especially young minorities that might not be able to afford to get hockey equipment, because tons of kids would love to play hockey, and for you know, money reason, they can afford it. The parents can afford it, and it's unfortunate. So that's why we're so lucky to see more and more programs like this, not just in Edmonton, but in the States, and they're doing it in Montreal too, that are raising funds for it. And the more funds that we could raise for those charities, the more kids could be playing hockey, and the more of a chance you have to achieve your dream if you ever want to play in the NHL one day, to be able to play. So it's a great start with what we're doing tonight.
And a lot of the kids and the families that we help, George, are immigrant families. And so a lot of them wouldn't get into hockey if it wasn't for the chance they had there. So thanks to Bruce and Clancy for those questions. All right, we got another one for you. This first one is from Michael.
Hi, George. My name is Michael. What was your favorite hockey fight?
There you go. He was wearing a Flames jersey, if you can believe that. But what was your favorite hockey fight, if you had one?
Okay. I don't have favorite hockey fights. I'll tell you the most memorable one, but I don't have favorite one because I didn't like it. I did it because it was my job, but I never liked doing it. I did it because that's what was going to keep me in the NHL, but not out of fun, because it's never fun to do so. And I hope that you will never fight and you'll never do what I did. And now when I talk to my son, I always tell him that. Don't ever do it. Don't ever do that. I don't want him to fight. I don't want him to joke about it, because I know with his name he has a target. When he gets bigger, you never know, but I don't want him to do that. But the most memorable one that I have, though, is the one with Rob Ray. The one with Rob Ray, because you know, it's a crazy story, but when I started with the Oilers, I remember we're playing the Buffalo Sabres. And we're playing them in Edmonton. And at the end of the game, Rob Ray kind of roughed up Bill Guerin and Doug Weight, and he got kicked out of the game towards the end of the game. So the media came to me in the dressing room after the game, and they're like, George, what do you think of what Rob Ray did? And I started insulting him, and I said, I can't believe he did that. The next time I'm going to deal with him. And I said all that stuff, but I was a rookie, and I didn't know that when you said stuff to the media, they would bring it back later. I just thought that, you know, at that time I just said what I was gonna do, and that's it, and it was gonna die, right?
And Rob Ray was the veteran tough guy in the league.
He was a veteran tough guy. I was a rookie, so anyway, I say that, and then I was up and down that year playing the minors, playing Edmonton, and then I remember the media were talking about it. They were doing a countdown, Laraque versus Ray, in a week, in 6 days. And then I started feeling really bad because like, oh my God, they're ramping it up. They're making it so big.
Yeah.
And I was very nervous. I was like, oh my God, I got Rob Ray mad. And then the media in Buffalo, they started interviewing Rob Ray. Like, do you see what this kid said? And Rob Ray's like, what is he gonna do? Beat me up? So my cousin was playing in Buffalo and he was like, George, what did you do? Rob Ray wants to kill you. And I was like, tell him that I'm sorry. I was like petrified. I was like, oh my God, why are the media doing that? So I was put in a spot. And then at that game, I remember the night before that game, and it was in Buffalo. I didn't sleep. Like I had cold sweat all night, and I was like, oh my God, Rob Ray is he's gonna destroy me. And I looked some of his fight on the internet, and I was like, and he's mad, right?
Yeah.
I said stuff, I'm gonna deal with him, so we have to go. I have no choice. So I'm in the dressing room like before the game and I'm sitting and I'm in trance. I'm like focusing and the guys are looking at me. They're like, yeah, everybody knows, right? This is going to happen, right? So it did. It happened and I did pretty good. And that's why I say memorable because, you know, the voice of Rod Phillips describing it, which I think him is the Hall of Fame of all the voice of hockey.
He is.
But it was awesome because that's when I started to make a name for myself after that fight. And it's memorable because everything that went through my mind coming up to that. And you know what's awesome with that too is after the fight and you know I was becoming Doug Waite's protector.
Right.
Doug Waite was so thankful that he gave me an unbelievable deal for his Viper.
He sold you his Viper? Okay,
you know
George.
the funniest thing about his Viper that he sold to me? I bought it, and he gave me a great deal because, you know, kind of like I'm pretty sure Wayne spoiled Semenko sometimes, so he spoiled me with that. But I had to get rid of it pretty fast because I was too big.
You couldn't fit in it. No.
No, I couldn't fit. Well, I could, but I was getting a cramp every time I came out of it. So, yeah.
Okay, we got a couple more kids to get to. Michael is also with Simon, so here's Simon's question.
Okay.
Hi, George. My name is Simon. What was your greatest moment in the NHL?
Your greatest moment in the NHL, George?
By far is my hat trick, NHL hat trick. First NHL and only NHL hat trick. You know, it's like, do I have time to tell the story of the hat trick? Or
Yeah, go ahead. Do it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is how memorable this hat trick was for me, February 21st, 2000. We're playing the LA Kings. So, you know, I get two goals on that game, and I got into a fight with Steve McKenna. So, by the way, a George Laraque hat trick is 3 goals in a fight, if you want to ever
I
make
think we
fun.
might have the video. Maybe we can roll that in. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So I have 2 goals in a fight in that game, and now I'm dreaming of scoring a hat trick, right? Because the only time that I've done it, I did it once in junior hockey, but most of the time I do it playing PlayStation. So anyway, there's 1:06 left in the game, and now the crowd is chanting my name to go out there because they're pulling out the goalie. So Kevin Lowe touched me in the back. He's like, George, sorry, I got to put the defensive unit out there. And I was like, damn, that was my chance to get the hat trick, right? So we pulled the goalie out. They put the defensive unit, Tal Marchand, Mike Greer, Yanni Nima. Yanni Nima scores an empty netter. It's 5-3. There's 25 seconds left in the game. And then he puts me back out there with Boyd Devereaux and Jim Dowd. We were the kid line that was doing so good.
Right.
There's 25 seconds left in the game. You know, I have 2 goals in the fight. I'm like, you know, it's a good game. It's, you know, it's fine. And
It's your best
I'm
game
probably
in
going
the,
to get a
so
star.
far.
And I don't think it's going to happen, right? And then the puck ends up in their zone. And then Jim Dahl makes me a pass, and I'm in the slot. Hacky Bird's in front of me. And I don't know why I did that, but I did a spinorama with the puck, a Denis Savard spinorama, which I tried many times after in other practice. I was never able to do it again. You know, when you say the stars were aligned, so I tried something, it worked, and I'm in front of Stéphane Fizet, and I do a backhand, and I scored. When I scored, it's not just because it was the hat trick, it's because I was like, there was 25 seconds left in the game. What were the odds of it? I couldn't believe that it actually happened. So I went nuts. I skated faster than McDavid that day. Connor would have been jealous if he saw how fast I skated from the goal line to the bench. I never skated again that fast to any other games that I played in the NHL after. I was so happy. It was insane. Celebrate with my teammates. When I went into the dressing room, you know, Wayne called. And he said, congratulations, George, you only need 49 more to break my record. It was awesome. And, you know, I was I was on my gear for like an hour after the game, still doing interviews. And because of the cold and the hot, what happened is that the next morning, I couldn't practice because I had back spasm because I kept my gear so long. So the guys were giving to me in the dressing room, they're like, oh, you score a hat trick, you don't need to practice.
Yeah,
so it's actually, it's something that I will never forget. I still have all, like obviously the Oilers did a trophy with it.
Yeah.
All the hats that was thrown in on the ice, the Oilers, like, they pick it up, they give it to the players. So it was in a garbage bag, so I had them all. Yeah. It was in a closet of mine. And a couple of years later, I opened them up. I was like, what is that? You know how much you know how bad it smells?
I bet.
Thousands of hats in a garbage bag that you closed in for years. Mm-hmm. It was the worst smell ever, so I had to get rid of them. But one of the nicest souvenirs that I have is, you remember when I did Power 92, Lyrics by Larac? I was on the radio there in Edmonton. So Power 92 got a big poster that in a parking lot, they got the fan to sign a message to congratulate me about the hat trick.
Oh, cool.
So I got hundreds of messages in this big board of Power 92 that people say, congratulations on your hat trick, and I cried and all that stuff. So I still have it, and I kept it. And no, it was a night that I'll never forget because, again, as a tough guy, to do something like that and in Edmonton in front of your fans, it's something that I'll never forget.
That's amazing. All right, thanks for that question from Simon. Okay, one more question. This is coming from Laura. Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura George Howard. What's your favorite princess?
What's your favorite princess, George?
Thank you.
My favorite princess is probably Elsa, because I sang the Let It Go song for my daughter so much. She was plugging her ears because I sing so bad. And, you know, at one part, I even knew it by heart because I did it so much. I'm so happy that she's grew out of the trend. But, yeah, Elsa was in my heart for the longest time, so I would have to say.
When you have an 11-year-old daughter, I guess you have a good answer to the princess question. So, George, we're going to wrap things up with the kids here with a short bedtime story. Now, kids, after you hear this bedtime story, you must go to sleep because afterwards, things may get a little raunchy. Here's the story from Grayson and Lila.
Hi everyone, I'm Grayson and this is my little sister Lila.
Hi everyone.
We love playing sports. I've played soccer and baseball and hockey. Hockey is my favorite.
And I've played tennis and lots of soccer. This year is going to be my first year playing hockey. I can't wait.
We're super lucky to play all these sports. My mom said that not all kids get to play. That's not right, so here's a story about how we can help them. Once upon a time, there were kids all over the world who really wanted to play sports. The problem is that their parents couldn't afford it. Some adults heard about those kids and wanted to help them. They thought if other people had a little extra money, they could collect it all together, then use it to pay for registration fees for the kids who need it. They call it Kids Sport. So now, anytime kids need help with the registration fees, they can fill it out with a Kids Sport application and send it in. Anyway, one day to raise money, some other adults decided to put on a show with some hockey players. George Larac and some of his friends came to tell funny hockey stories for all the parents to hear. The first thing they did is let some kids talk to George and ask him whatever they want. After that, all the kids went to bed quietly and didn't come out of their rooms until morning. The end.
What? No fair. I want to hear all the funny stories.
No, lad. Mom said the adults are probably going to say bad words. Let's go to bed so they can watch the show and donate money to Kids Sport so all kids can play.
Okay.
Good night.
So Grayson and Lila, they did a great job. And there probably will be some naughty words coming, George.
I actually wanted to go to sleep after that.
No, you have to stick
it was
around.
Pretty good.
So to tell us where all the money from tonight is going and how all of the things that you're doing are going to help kids in Edmonton with Kids Sport, here's Kids Sport Edmonton's Executive Director, Dana Hyman.
Thank you for tuning in tonight to Kids Sport's first ever TV-style online fundraiser presented by the Love Boys. On behalf of the Kids Sport Edmonton family, we hope everyone is staying well and keeping safe. Tonight's production, and really kids sport in general, is only made possible by the many helping hands in our community. From corporate partners to event ticket buyers and community volunteers, thank you for helping make it so all kids can play. I've always said that kids sport is a community-funded and a community-run program. From our viewers to our partners and our ambassadors, you directly place kids sport kids on the field, on the ice, the dance floor, and even into the pool. These are kids that require subsidy programs so they can access basic and crucial childhood opportunities, like participation in sport. Today, we know thousands of families are impacted by the financial downturn in our community, turning community members into kids sport families now requiring kids sports so all kids can play grant program. Head over to kidsportcanada.ca, find your local chapter, and click on that green button in the top right-hand corner that says apply for a grant, and let us help you. And if you're not one of those families applying for the grant, you must be one of the families donating so we can help our neighbors' kids access sport opportunities. Take out that plastic, my friends, and let's talk coin. Pick a card, any card, I don't care, but we take all types of plastic. Head to anightwithkidsport.com to donate. Now, $50 will help you subsidize a kid's soccer registration fees. $125 will help you subsidize a hockey registration fee. $250, I mean, do you get it? We fund 40 different sports, and each time you donate, no matter what sport you pick, you'll get a tax receipt. At the end of the day, what we're saying is we need coin and we take plastic. Head to anightwithkidsport.com. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Enjoy the show. Back to you, Mark.
Thanks for that, Dana. And George, we already have some donations rolling in. I think you might recognize this first name, Patrick LaForge, $100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Bruce Mann, $200. Cody Richard, $100. Jason Holland, $60. Chris Sam with another $60. Laverne McKenzie with $50, and Jill Gillis at $50. So folks, if you want to donate, you can do so right now. And George, we have some special ambassadors who have done some stuff for us. I think you'll recognize this next guy.
Hey everybody, it's Gene Principe with Sportsnet. I hope you're doing well, and I just wanted to let you know I'm more than happy to be a supporter of A Night with Kids Sport featuring George Laraque. Sorry, George, don't beat me up. Certainly want to give a special shout out to the Love Boys. When we need you, you're there. And thanks for being the title sponsor. A big thank you to everybody who's involved and who's been a part of this event. And a reminder, if you make a donation, if you make a contribution, it is tax deductible, and it really helps to support the kids of Edmonton when it comes to giving them a chance they might not normally have, and that's playing sports. Speaking of sports, I've been playing it my whole life, and for the last 33 years, I've been covering sports. Now, whether it's tennis, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, whether it's soccer, or of course, whether it's hockey, I have never, ever met an athlete more committed to the community. And that's you, George Laraque. So thanks for being you, and thanks to everybody for supporting Kids Sport.
There you go, George. Any Gene Principe
awesome.
stories you want to tell?
Gene, though, I've always picked on him many times in the dressing room, but the thing is, he's such a nice guy.
He is.
It's not like Bob Stauffer or Robin that sometimes I got a raise out of him. He was always smiley, always happy. So, I was always joking around with him all the time. So we've always had great relationship with him. He was never one of those media that you had to watch yourself when you talk to him, because he never tried to trap you when there's some others that would.
Right.
So I've always liked him. I've always got along great with him. And, I did a podcast with him when he did during the COVID, when he was talking to former tough guys. So, no, Gene was always there every time I needed someone or if I needed coverage for something. He's always been really generous also to cover some of the stuff that I would do. So he's awesome.
He's a nice
and
guy.
I have nothing bad to say about him. Nothing at all.
Good. Well, super nice guy. Oh, got some more donations here. Ken Zender for $60. Trevor Philippon, $250. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
Mark Rothius,
Thank you.
$100. Carrie Lynn Holland, $100. And Dan Timmermans, $30. So thank you for all those.
Thanks. Thank you to everyone.
Now, George, over the years, the reason we had this event online, of course, is because of COVID. But we've had some great roasts over the years that have done really well. And one of the best ones we had is when we roasted Jason Strudwick, because it was so easy to get people to come and say bad things about him, right? And so we wanted him to come and share some embarrassing stories about his hockey days, or, as he would say, just some stories about his hockey days. So please welcome Jason Strudwick, who is actually right beside me, but now separated by the camera. He's 6 feet away. Jason? Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. George, nice to see you, buddy. It's great to have you here. Thanks for doing this to help the kids of Edmonton and area.
Hey, nice to see you, Jason, too. I see you in so many events also. You're so generous of your time. But, you know, if you tell that story about our fight, that's the best story you tell. It's so funny.
We want to hear that story.
I love the way you say it. You're so entertaining. I laugh. Even though we did a couple events together, every time you say it, and I've heard it before, it makes me laugh because you're such a great storyteller.
Thanks.
All right, so we got to get Jason on camera here. Are we okay with Jason on camera? We're good? He's up there. Okay, good. I can't quite see him. All right, Jason, tell us the story.
Yeah, so, I grew up, I wasn't really much of a fighter, but I decided that, I'd become a fighter. And I got to my first year in the minors, I learned to fight. So my second in the minors, by this time I was somewhat of a decent fighter. And we had a really tough team in Kentucky. And there was this young guy coming up who played for Hamilton named George the Rock. And, he had a reputation. We'd never seen him. So he had beat everyone up on our team. We had about 5 or 6 really tough guys. So he'd beat up like 3 or 4 of the guys and beat them up bad. And so, before the game, the guys were like, Struddy, you can beat this Rock. He's got a glass jaw. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I was 21, right? George is 20. Like, he does have a glass jaw. I know I can beat this guy. I know I can beat this guy. So I'm like getting myself jacked up. You can imagine I'm pretty nervous because I don't think this is going to go well. But the guys are telling me, you got him, you got him. So anyway, we get in the game, and George was playing with Ralph Interneuville. If you don't remember Ralph Interneuville,
I remember Ralph.
He was a short guy.
He's from Edmonton.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, he's got a huge nose, biggest nose I've ever seen. And so we skate out for this face-off, and I kind of slash Ralph, and he's like, "Don't do that, Strudwick. LaRock's gonna kill you." I'm like, "I'm out here to beat him up. I'm gonna beat him up." He's like, "You're gonna get killed. You're gonna get killed." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I line up, and I'm like, "Let's go, LaRock." And George was young. He was willing to fight. Not that he wasn't always, but you could tell he was hungry to beat me up. So anyway, so the puck drops and we drop the gloves, and my gloves haven't even touched the ground, and George already has me out and stretched out, and he's just hammering on me. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I do this? So anyway, so he's a lefty, he's just teeing off on me, and I turn my head around, he's just pounding the back of my head, and I turn around, like, are you done? No? Okay, hold on, let me know when you're done. And he just keeps pounding my head. And I'm like, are we gonna stop this thing? It's a massacre. So finally, I think George's hands are too sore, so he stops punching. I'm like, okay, I guess we're done. So we was near the end of the period, so we had to go away. We had to go back to our dressing room. So I go to our dressing rooms, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, I just got absolutely annihilated. And the guys come in, and when a fight doesn't go well, guys come in, hey, nice work, way to work, nice try, keep working hard. I'm like, thanks.
Did the best you could.
Yeah, so now it's almost time to go for the next period. So I go to put my helmet on, but I have so many bumps on the back of my head, I can't get my helmet on. And I'm like, I need a bigger helmet. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? I can feel the back of my head. It was like Barney Rubbles on the back of my head. So in the end, I think they just put a garbage can lid on and just put some tape on. And I just wheeled out there and like, hey, great fight, LaRock. And so we played against each other like tons of times after that. And I was like, there is no way I'm fighting this guy again, because the best thing that can happen is a tie. That's the best thing that can happen. That's a bad feeling to just get a tie as a victory, right?
Yeah.
Now, but Jason, to your credit though, you went, and I knew you weren't a tough guy, but I've always respected you after when we played, because you faced the music, and there was other heavyweights on your team, and you still went. So somebody like that's not afraid, that backed it up, I've always respected you after that.
Well, I was afraid after that too, buddy. That's what I was afraid. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not too proud to tell you. Like, it was crazy. I remember one time we were playing, and I don't remember what team I was on, and like you were kind of running. No, you were never dirty, but you were physical. And the coach was like, you should do something about that. I'm like, oh really? What do you want me to do? Like, hey, stop that, George. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, it was so crazy, yeah.
Now, George, do you remember that fight?
Yes, I do. Of course I do. I do it and when he tells the story, I didn't obviously know all those details, but it makes me cry every time, because the way he tells it is so funny. But no, but I do remember, because I remember most of them because fortunately I wasn't affected by too many concussions, so I remember most of the fight that I've had. So, so I'm good.
So after the game, like, what did guys think about Larocque? Like, were they saying, "Oh, this guy, who"?
No, he didn't. We knew he didn't have a glass jaw. Well, we couldn't touch him. It was like, how did we know? Like, that's the thing that bothered me after. Like, how did you know he had a glass jaw? No one's hit him with a punch. Like, I don't think George ever got hit by a punch. Maybe he does have a glass jaw, but it doesn't matter. We can't get close enough to find out. I sure didn't. I didn't throw a punch. I'm trying to find video of this because I swear it's worse than I described it. It was awful.
Really?
Oh, it was bad. It wasn't like, you know, he got beat up, but it was just, I got manhandled. It was like a man beating up a little kid. You know, it was tough. It's a tough one.
Well, yeah, but Chase, hey, you were much tougher than you said, though. It was. I'm sure it wasn't that bad. It wasn't.
Well, I went to find the little guys. I'd fight the little guys. You know, that's what I felt good about myself.
How many fights did you have in the NHL?
Where are those scores? Where's Bill Guerin? I'll fight Bill Guerin.
Did you ever fight anybody, but then were embarrassed about it? Not that you lost to them, but that you.
No, not really. I don't think so. I mean, I never jumped anyone, and I know George would never jump anyone. If they're going to fight, they're going to fight. And then, you know, you'd quickly, if I got the upper hand, I'd shut it down pretty quick, like if it was that bad. But that didn't happen very often.
What did the guys, when you were coming up in the minors there, George, and you had a fight like that, what was going on in your dressing room then?
Well, the thing is, you know, a lot of guys would want to show that they weren't afraid, right? Yeah. So I knew Jason was not a heavyweight on his team because I knew the other ones that I fought. Yeah. But the thing is, I don't know he is. I don't know him, right? So, and everything could happen. So he could catch me with a punch and it could be over. And if I lose, then it looks really bad on me because all the pressure's on me. The pressure's not on him. He has nothing to lose when we fight because he's going against somebody that is bigger, and that's my job. It's not his job to fight. So he's showing his team that he has heart. Me, if I don't win decisively, I'm showing that maybe I'm not gonna be the guy to do the job, right? So the pressure's on me. So, you know, as funny as this story is, there's so much pressure to me because when he comes up to me like this and he wants to go, I'm like, is there something that I don't know? What is he gonna do?
Because you're thinking, this is crazy. Why does this idiot want to fight me, right?
You know, but it's always fighting. Doesn't matter who you fight. It's always scary because you never know what's going to happen. Right. There's nothing that is guaranteed. Yeah. And he knew how to fight. You're one punch away to knock out someone, and you never know. You tried it. You could have got me with the right punch, and today I'd be telling the story how you knocked me out. You know?
Yeah.
Well, the great thing is it didn't happen in the NHL, so you could almost deny it unless you want to use it for stories like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's no video of it or anything. No. Any other funny stories you want to tell about George? Or?
Yeah, well, George and I did an event in Grand Prairie last year, and we were at a camping supply store. And we all walked in, and we're kind of hanging out. And George looks on the wall, and there's a bear taser in case you're in camp and a bear attacks you.
Right.
And so George, he was pretty quiet that day. Like, I'm pretty chatty. And George, he looks up. He's like, what does that thing do? And the guy at the store brings it down. And he opens up. He's like, well, it's a taser. If a bear comes at you in camp, you can zing it. He's like, would it hurt? And I'm like, what? And George he's like, well, someone tased me. And everyone's looking around like, who's going to tase this guy? And so they get out of the pack, and they're like, well, what can happen? Like, well, I think you can handle it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to give George Larocque mouth to mouth in this Grand Prairie camping supply store. And so the guy gives it to George. It was like a little bee sting. And I don't even think it was really that bad for you, George. I couldn't believe it, man. Do you remember that, George? I still can't believe it.
Yes, of course I do.
It was for a bear.
I'm not. I know I'm a bit hyperactive. I like to try crazy things. The guys, you were with McCam and Dean McCam, and you look at me like, what is he doing? What's wrong with you? I was like, oh, why not? Just trying it. We're sitting there. That's how crazy I am. There's a bear taser. Let's see if it really works on bears, if it works on me. So I've just got tased. Even them on the store, they wanted to see what it does. They were like, oh, sure. Let's see if it actually works.
It was the craziest thing.
Oh my God.
A bear. I'll never forget that. I was like, what is going on?
Now, George, Jason is very dedicated to kids sport, and coming up this week, actually, he is going to do something. I think it's tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, we're gonna. You know, there's an aerial park in Edmonton, and it's about the top of it is about, I think, 3 or 4 stories high. And I don't love heights, so I'm gonna go and we're gonna rappel off the top of it. And I'm quite. I went there the other day with my daughter. My daughter did it, and I was up there, and I couldn't do it, so I had to walk back, like the walk of shame. So we talked about it on the radio show now. Everyone's like, we'll raise money if you do it. I'm like, oh my God. So myself and Ryan Rashog are going to do it tomorrow morning. So I'm a little bit nervous, but we'll do it for the kids. But, you know, it says it's ranked for 270 pounds. You know, I'm not quite there, but what if it's off by 10 or 15%? I might have a quick fall to the bottom. That's what I'm nervous about.
Hey, if I was there, I would do it with you. I would do it with you.
He would catch you.
You know, you know, I skydive, right? I have my own parachute.
What?
I skydive summer.
That must be a huge parachute.
I took a course. I took a course now, lessons. Now I skydive on my own, so I have no problem doing it.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
I should borrow that parachute in case this doesn't work tomorrow. I got to pull it on the way.
Well, for
actually,
this...
let me, Jason, let me tell you something that might traumatize you a bit. That event last year in Montreal, somebody died because they didn't tie it up properly.
Oh, jeez, that's just
what. George,
I got to
why
start
would you
drinking.
say that?
I got to start drinking right now for this tomorrow morning.
So the website for this is struddyandrashogconquer.com.
Yeah.
It's for Gregor's grads and kids sport.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for doing that. That's awesome. It's over 10 grand already. So if we can get to 14K, that would indicate that people like Marty Reisner, because he was number 14, right?
Right.
Exactly. See if we can do that. Struddy, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate it. That was a great story. George, love to have Strud today.
Yeah. Struddy, I'm going to see you in many other events in Edmonton, and you do so many things in the community also, though. We'll see you out there. Awesome.
Yeah, George, thanks for doing this, buddy.
All right, here's another special guest appearance.
Right now?
Oh, yeah.
How much you weigh?
Well, no, not 270. No. I said within 20%. Like, I'm like 230. 232.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to do the math, George. You don't have to do that. All right, here's a special guest appearance for you.
Hi, David Pelletier here. Believe it or not, once in my life, I was George Larocque's figure skating coach. It was a gig that didn't pay me that well, that left me scarred for life, so I've learned my lesson. Next time I'll teach George how to skate, I'll ask to get paid by the pounds. This is how you get rich. But I'm here also to tell you that I'm happy to support a night with kids sport featuring George Larocque, presented by the Love Boys. I'm also here to thank our breakaway partners, Canada ICI, Capital Midwest Properties Group. And I'm here to tell you, please donate at anightwithkidsport.com.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah? Did you learn to skate well?
You want a little story with David Pelletier?
Absolutely.
I have time to tell it?
Yeah, go ahead.
It takes about 5 minutes. Okay.
5 minutes? Well, maybe not that long.
Look, okay, I'll try to do it in
Tighten
3.
it up.
It's 3 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. He thought me Battle the Blaze, which I did in Toronto, right?
Right.
And the first concussion that I've ever had is actually in figure skating. Figure skating is harder physically and mentally than hockey. There's a move called the chin saw that Lloyd Eisler and Isabelle Brassard used to do when I spin Annabelle around my neck.
Right.
And what happened is, in the rehearsal of the show the day before, they told me to put a muscle shirt and they put oil on me. So when they put oil on me and I spin Annabelle, she was spinning too fast. So when she was spinning, her head was going to knock the ice. So I leaned over to head her straight so she doesn't hit the ice, because she had a couple of concussions in her career. And when I leaned over to set her straight, when we're falling down, she hit me right there. I got a skate on the side of the face right there. I got 12 stitches. I had to go to the hospital. But that gave me a bit of a concussion. Pelletier was right there. He's the first guy that was right beside me, right? So that girl is just 4'11", 95 pounds to give me a concussion. No tough guy in the child did, but she did. So the crazy thing about that is David was there to make sure I was okay. I was like spitting blood all over the place.
Yeah.
We go to the hospital. I get my stitches. And when I'm at the hospital, Annabelle, she's in front of me. She's like, oh, I feel so bad. You okay? Thanks for going down to straighten me out or whatever. I'm like, it was fun. It was good. We trained for 6 months, but, it's over. She's like, what? I was like, well, I'm done. She's like, no, we're going back to the rink right now. We're going to do the same thing again. I was like, you're nuts? She's like, we didn't do all this for nothing. We're going back to the rink right now. So I was afraid of her. So I got my bandana and my stitches, and we go back to the rink, and I'm shaking. And we did it again in a rehearsal because she's like, you gotta break that barrier of being scared away. We'll do it again, and then tomorrow we could do the show. So we went back, and I did it because I was afraid of her, that she was gonna beat me up, and it worked.
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for everyone that do figure skating now that I've done it.
Yeah.
And after I did this show, I did a figure skating campaign across Montreal. I did about 75 shows across Canada to help the intimidation campaign towards boys that do figure skating. I get teased around in school, all over the place. So I figured if I was a tough guy and I do all the clubs, I'm going to break this barrier saying that figure skating is for everyone. So I started doing the shows for free everywhere, and right now I have like about 50 choreography in my head because I was learning a different choreography for different girls and different clubs that I was doing. But it was my part to help the inequality that a lot of boys were suffering because they were practicing the sport that they love.
George, good for you. Listen, I got a ton of people making donations. We're going to get to some of these names in a minute, but I really want to introduce our next guest who is here to help out. George, it was tough to find an ex-teammate of yours who wanted to come in and admit that he actually played with you. Marty Reisner, though, he suffered through a lot of painful seasons with the Oilers from 2001, 2008, finishing many times out of the playoffs. Of course, the great thing was in 2006, you guys went to the final, and that was the year Marty played for Boston. Bad timing for Marty. Please welcome Marty Reisner. Marty, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's good to see you, and we're so glad you're able to do this. What is going on?
First off, I just want to say, Strutty, thanks for staying behind the camera. So, face for radio for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Georgie, I don't want to. This is coming here first. I know, the whole vegan thing, and very sensitive. I'm very glad that you were able to get over coronavirus, but I'm going to say it here first. 1, you're a super spreader, and 2, I think coronavirus started with George Laraque.
Marty,
he's the only man that can get it through the camera.
Do you have something to do with the Green Party now, Marty? I know that George is running something.
Wait, yeah, I do. So I heard there's an open seat in the Green Party, so I'm running. Vote for Marty, Green Party.
There you go, George. You have a competitor there now, because I know you. Yeah. Are you running for the leadership of the Green Party, George?
No. I did, but many years ago. Now I just help out because of the green message. I'm vegan, and I talk about the environment all the time. And Marty, if you want to join in, first of all, you got to be vegan.
Oh, well, if vegan means you just put anything in a fryer and eat it, then.
Actually, a funny story about Marty. I was with Marty and Fernando Pisani once in Edmonton, and I was like, they knew I was vegan. I said, guys, let's go eat at a vegan spot that I know. And they're like, we don't need that shit. We don't want to eat there. It's shit. We want real meat. Man eats meat. I'm like, fine. They also have meat there. We went to Bagmanati's, which is all vegan, but they didn't know that. So we go there. I order for them, and then they eat their entire plates. And after they were done their plates, I told them, you guys ate tofu. And then you admit it, Marty. You thought it was real meat. And after
George, you could have picked up anything off the street, how fried they had that thing, and then you could have eaten it. You're the fattest vegan guy I've ever seen. You put anything in a fryer, you'll eat it.
But still, I got you guys to eat tofu. You didn't even know it, and you guys had a full vegan meal that day. So I got you guys. I got you both. That was pretty good.
Now, Marty, you were George's center at some points during his career. What was he like to play with?
I think it's kind of like a shot of Novocaine, right? Where it hurts a lot at the beginning, and then you just slowly get numb to it, and just acceptance. That's essentially it's like a slow pain that you just get over after a while. I'm going to tell a story though. One of the first shifts we played together. George, it's well documented that George didn't love to fight, but he always wanted to get it over with, right? So I don't even think I was playing on his line at the time, but he just wanted to get it over with right away. So I was going out for a shift, and I was up, and he saw the other team's tough guy come out, and he forearm shivered me to the ground, like back on my back on the bench to jump over this. He's a right wing. He's not even a center. Like it was like it wasn't even his lineup. He was like 2 lines away from being called on, and it was like no, it just had to get it over. And I was like, is this what I got to deal with for the rest of the year? Like,
that sounds like fun.
But you know, it was awesome. But Marty, it was awesome to play with you because just so you know, you were a funny guy, but the stress that I had to do the job that I was doing and to have you always joking around, and it was bringing a side of me that was not as hard. It was like I was laughing when on the inside, sometimes it was hard. Could you tell sometimes before I was playing a game and you knew I was going to fight, wasn't that a bit different sometimes when you could just tell that I was in trance?
It's funny. The only time that I remember, one, I got a front seat when in Nashville when you literally made Stu Grimson a puddle right in front of me. I was watching that. And then the only time though that I actually remember you being worked up about it is, do you remember in the preseason in Calgary when who was the guy that like you were buddies with and you like had him over to dinner before?
Brent Myers.
And then he talked all kinds of shit about he was going to beat you up. And you, I'll never forget this because I get to the rink and it was like, usually get there 5 o'clock. He was there at 3 o'clock. He couldn't sleep that day. He took a cab. He paid a taxi driver to drive him around Calgary because he couldn't sleep. He was so worked. It was the first time I ever saw you actually mad, actually mad when you got it before you got into a fight. Every other time it was like you knew you were just going to do it. This time you were actually upset. This poor guy didn't have a freaking chance. Like he's a grown man. He's like, beat him into the ice, picked him up like he was a little boy, and then beat him. And I was like, wow, this guy.
Yeah, you know what I feel bad about? Yeah, I feel bad about it.
That was the only time when I knew that you were upset. Every other time it was.
But you know why? I was upset because that morning the media came up to me in the dressing room and they told me that Brent said that he wants to go with you, and that was Brent coming back game because he was battling from alcohol and everything, and his dad was back to see him back for his first game. So when the media told me that in the morning, I knew the guy's like, why is he telling the media we're going to go tonight? So I was so upset. It got me worked up. And you're right, I never fought Matt, but unfortunately because I fought Matt, I broke his face and he had to get metal plates. And his career was done. They had to put metal in his face and stuff. Because I knew I was strong, but fighting Matt is dangerous, right? And you know me, I never fought Matt, but that instance when it happened, I was in a trance, and that I was never in that state ever before. It's not fun to. The goal was never to hurt someone when you fight. It's to win, but not to break somebody's face. But unfortunately, it happened that time.
Listen, guys, we've had a lot of kids sport ambassadors throw their support behind this effort, so we wanted to get to one of them, former NHLer Matt Kassian. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hello, I am Matt Kassian of TSN 1260 and the Edmonton Oilers alumni, among many other things. I'm very happy to support A Night with Kids Sport featuring gorgeous Georges Laraque, presented by the Love Boys. Thank you so much for tuning into Kids Sport's first ever online event. I'm about to run through a top-notch list of our Power Play partners, so please turn up your volume and listen so you can hear all of the companies who have stepped up to support. Davis Development, Zender Ford, Pennock, Etchinson, Nielsen, Devaney LLP, Foster Park Brokers, Leading Edge Physiotherapy, City Image Signs, Park Pacific Projects, Hub International, Denton's, Hildebrand Kozitzky LLP, Kickit, Swift, Delnor Construction, Miller Thompson LLP, and Volvo of Edmonton. You can show up for Kidsport Kids just like these companies do by heading into anightwithkidsport.com. That is anightwithkidsport.com to donate. Don't have too many stories to tell about Georgie today. We'll just say that one of my favorite moments with George was skating in the summer when there was a certain radio personality in the city by the name of Bob Stauffer who decided to say some things that maybe weren't that smart to George, and George decided to absolutely flatten him center ice in front of everybody just to let him know who is boss. It was actually really funny. So poor Bob Stauffer got lit up by George. Thank you so much for helping make this night. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Again, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to George for being such a good sport, and thanks for participating.
Yeah, Bob Stauffer. He talks about that all the time, George.
Yeah, I know. Bob is like Walk of Fame. I got hit by George, and I got up, and I went right back to him. It's crazy. Like, I open ice hit him. We're playing Kinsman there. And it was, when I think of it, it was really stupid of me, but he was ripping me on the radio all the time. You know, he used to say all the time that I wasn't mean enough.
Right.
I was like, I'm fighting for a living. And he's like, you got to be meaner. Like, kind of like, because Brashear was mean.
Right.
But Marty, you knew me. It wasn't inside of me to be a mean guy when I did this job. It's hard enough to do. I just, as you said, I wanted to get it over with, but it was never my temperament to be this guy that I never, like, be the guy. I'm the tough guy and I could do whatever I wanted on the ice. So it wasn't like that. But many times Bob was giving it to me. So when I saw him on the ice in this thing, I was like, I'm going to get him back, which was actually pretty dangerous that I've done that. And actually,
you couldn't hurt him. His head's hard enough. Doesn't matter.
No, actually, he rolled because it was so big.
Yeah.
But but Cassian, first of all, I'm happy that as a former tough guy, he could read, so he's not affected by concussion.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he's okay. But you know, I used to train him fighting training on the ice. Him, Wes Garth, and that other tough guy that played in Edmonton, Marty. What's his name? McIntyre. I used to train those guys with pads on the ice and stuff in the summer to train them and stuff for the jobs. So I spent a lot of time with Cass.
Let me give a few shout outs here to folks who have donated tonight, and thanks to everybody who's done so, because we appreciate all the money you're putting in. Dinah Jamez, $200. Thank you. Al Shibilo for $60. Jessica Maddie for $150. Got Dean Bissara for $100. And all the way from Ontario, Paul and Diane Reeds at $75. So we're getting some good donations, everybody. You're doing great. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, Marty, you were telling me before tonight that, I think you mentioned it early on as well, that George came to your wedding, and there's a story behind that. I'm just not sure where it begins.
Yeah, so it's funny. So George came to the wedding, and, you know, when you go through with guys, you invite all the guys on the team, and then you're asking guys, are you coming or not? And half the guys will say yes or no or whatever, and a lot of young guys don't. I never heard anything. Never heard anything. And George, you don't know this. So he didn't hear anything. All of a sudden, I'm literally walking back up the aisle with my wife after we're married. And Katie looks at me and she's like, is that George? I'm like, yeah. Like, did he say he was coming? I'm like, no, not that I know of. He just showed up in my wedding without telling me he was going to come. I sent emails like, hey, let me know if you're going to come. Just showed up. So I'm like, so we're like scrambling. We're like, hey, you better get a place setting at the wedding.
And he wants a vegan meal.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't vegan at that time. I wasn't at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll eat anything if you just put it in the fryer. But I'm like, who shows up at a guy's? I mean, not only, and he was coming from Edmonton to like Annapolis, Maryland. It wasn't like you want to plan ahead. At least let the guy know that you're coming.
Right.
You're just like, yeah, hey, how you doing? I was like, what is going on, George? What are you doing? He's like, oh, what do you mean? I have to tell you before you send me. I said, yeah, I sent you an RSVP. You're supposed to tell me if you're coming or not. He's like, oh, you don't think I'm just going to come? I'm like, yeah, there's a bunch of guys that didn't come on the team. Like, you should probably let me know.
How many other guys were there?
It was and so then after, it was funny. So afterwards, my wife, you know, obviously you have a lot of different people there. So we had this like after party after, and it was George, who was it? Toddy Marchand, Jason Smith, Ethan, Steve Stais there. So we come upstairs. We had this private room after. We come up and they had all left early. They all had their shirts off when everyone showed up in just their dress pants on. And so one of the guys didn't know who they were. Like, did you guys rent male strippers for your after party at your wedding? And my buddy tells me this story all the time. He was out of his mind drunk. He's this like New York City finance guy. And he went up to George and he bit him right on the chest. And George didn't know what to do. So he like gonged his head, like on the side of his head, on his ears.
Like that?
And he like had ringing in his ears for like the rest of the night.
George, why did you guys have your shirts off exactly?
Oh, probably because it was too hot. We were always joking around, having fun. We were nuts together. It was awesome. We hung out all the time, and it's just even in Montreal, we had a couple parties in Montreal after the rookie party with Marty's. We had our shirt off too. When we had rookie parties and stuff, rookie dinner and stuff like that. We're always joking around. It was fun, and I was always a go-to guy to laugh and to joke around and stuff. And dares, if you dare me to do anything, I would do it. And it was just awesome.
I gotta tell this one story. So, guys always gave me a really hard time about living in St. Albert. When I got there, I lived in Jamie McLennan's house, and I didn't know. I mean, you look at a map. I'm coming from St. Louis. I have no idea. It's like 12 miles away, but no one had lived in St. Albert since like Mark Messier. They were like, "Oh my gosh!" They were like, "Do you take a plane to get to practice?" Like, what? I'm like, it takes me like 15 minutes. What are you talking about? Yeah. But everyone lived like south of the city. So I was like, oh, all right. Well, I'm going to have the year-end party at our house. So we're having the year-end party that year, and those parties got a little out of control. Mm-hmm. So we're ordering all this like alcohol, and Sparky used to help us. George calls me that day. You probably don't remember this. He calls me that day, and he's like, "Oh, Mati, you have to order Zima for the party." I'm like, Zima? I'm like, what? Is your girlfriend coming? Like, what's going on? And he's like, "No, I drink Zima, and I drink 1,000 of them. I drink 1,000. And I was like, what? I'm like, all right. I mean, I don't know. I'll go get some Zima for the party for you, George. So I go get Zima. Meanwhile, so I'm telling my girl, she's my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. I'm like, yeah. He's like, George Rock, he's the toughest guy in the NHL. He wants Zima. Like, she's like, I won't even drink Zima. So then she answers the door. George, shows up. He's in a tank top, cut off, like jean shorts and a fanny pack. And she's like, there's some guy at the front door that he's a huge guy, but he says he plays for the Oilers. And I mean, he looks like he literally is like one of the Village people. He shows up, right? So we have the party, and I get at the end of it, I got like a whole case of these Zimas. There's 2 gone. I got Zima sitting there, so I leave the Zima in the fridge. Jamie McLennan calls me. He's like, "Dude, what's the deal with all these Zimas? What's your thing?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. George wanted them, and like, I can't even give these things away.
What's the story?
That was my style. That was unique. That was my style. So
the next year we have it again, right? And Noodles calls me again, and he's like, "Hey, things got a little out of control." I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" He's like, I have like 4 pairs of shoes nailed to the side of my house. I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, he's like, I'm like, yeah, I knew it got a little out of control. George came into the party, and he was all upset because he goes, "Someone threw dog crap on my car." And Mike York goes, "Yeah, man, that's not dog crap." That was you.
Oh, so who nailed the shoes, George?
I was so mad. I destroyed everything, and I went nuts. Man, I remember how mad that I was, Marty, when somebody did that, and then I heard it was you.
In my car. Yorkie's sitting in the corner like, "Yeah, it's not dog food."
Oh my God, that's a disgusting story. Thank you. But
it is.
Now, Marty, I want to know, how did you miss that year? After suffering all those years with the Oilers, there was some down time.
I didn't miss it. I was there. I made the ultimate sacrifice. So another story, George was the first one to tell me. So that year was crazy. I in like a 3-week span, I got hit in the chest with a shot, blocking a shot, and I was spitting up blood. And then I came back from that, and then I got hit. Chris Pronger hit me in the head right here, split my ear for 30 stitches, and fractured my skull.
Oh my God.
And as soon as I got back, as soon as I was getting ready for that, Mac T called me in the office, and he's like, "Hey, I just want to I want to see, you're doing okay." Because every time my heart rate would get up, I was playing. It looked like I was like a Civil War. Like, I'd go out for the games. I looked like I was like in the Civil War. I'd have to wear like a head wrap that like pinned my ear down so my ear didn't cauliflower. So I was like, I remember one time we were playing Nashville, I think it was, like right after I got hit in the head. And I had this like wrap on my head like this, And Steve Sullivan looked at me. He's like, dude, like, what are you even doing out here? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to make a living. I'm like, I have no idea. And so Mac T calls me in the office because every time I was get my heart rate up, I started like spitting up little bits of blood. And he was like, hey, listen, we got to get everything figured out. He's like, we're making moves. We just traded it was the day before the trade deadline. We're just traded for Dwayne Wallison. You know, you're one of my guys, like this whole thing. He's like, you're not going anywhere. I'm like, oh, he's like, I just want you to go all get checked out and then meet us in San Jose. We got a big game tomorrow night. Like, I was like, oh, great. All right, whatever. So I go, I get CAT scans, I got all this crap done, and they're like, yeah, you're fine. So I fly from Edmonton to Vancouver, stay overnight. Then I fly from Vancouver to like Seattle the next morning. And then I'm flying from Seattle to San Jose. And I get a bunch of calls that morning from Kenny Lowe, like, hey, you got to call me. Mac wants to talk to you. And I'm like, all right, I'm sure he's just seeing if I'm okay, if I can play that night. So I'm like, I'll talk to him at the hotel. So I get to the hotel after pregame skate, and my wife calls me and she's like, hey, did we just get traded to Boston? I'm like, no, I just talked to Matt T yesterday. He said, you're not going anywhere. He's like, well, she's like, I just want to let you know they traded for some Russian guy, and they said they can't get a hold of the guy that they traded. And you're the only guy that's been in an airplane for a day and a half. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So the first guy that told me I was traded, next call I get, George, hey, man, sorry. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You just told me yesterday I'm not going anywhere. He was like, why didn't you make me fly all the way to San Jose for this? So he's like, so George broke to me that I got traded to Boston, and then they went to the finals. And then they signed me back.
I know.
Which was even worse because I was there the whole time. And so guys like Rafi and George and everybody else, they didn't even realize I was gone. So they'd all be like, hey, remember when we were playing San Jose in the conference finals and this and that? And so after like half a year of being like, dude, I was traded, like I wasn't there, I used to be like, yeah, man, I had my guy in the finals. Why didn't you get your guy? Like, exactly. What was wrong with you?
Exactly.
Like, I played great in the playoff. What were you doing? Like, Raph used to be like all the time. He used to be like, hey, remember when we were playing Anaheim in the conference finals? And I was like, dude, really? And he'd be like, sorry. He's like, you're just always here. So I thought you were on the team. And I'm like, so finally I was like, yeah, man, I remember. That was awesome. That was great.
Man, that sucks.
I think I had like a goal in that playoff series. Like,
you could have been the difference. You could have been the difference.
That's what I try to tell myself, but yeah. I know better.
Marty, we really thank you for taking the time to do this with us tonight. We really appreciate it, for helping out George and telling a few stories. This has been a great night for us, and we thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. It's a great it's a great charity, and George does so many great things. And George, it's you've been so great to the city and everywhere you've been, and been a great friend. So
hey, look forward to see you when you come visit Montreal, buddy.
All right, man. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, we've got a special message again for you, George. This one from Jamie Saleh.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your evening tonight. I am Jamie Saleh, world and Olympic gold medalist, now transformational coach. I am incredibly honored and happy to be here tonight supporting A Night with Kids Sport. We all know that events like these are made possible with many helping hands. So I want to take a moment here to thank all of our Kids Sport fan partners, gift and kind partners, and our hungry and thirsty partners. They are BDO, Pattison Outdoor Advertising, The Jason Greger Show, Planet Sound, FMAV, Juicy Wine, Polar Park Brewery, Sorrentinos, Buco, Malt and Mortar, First Round, Mercer's, Oodle Noodle, and Easy as Pie. Now, if you haven't donated yet, get going. Please head to anightwithkidsport.com. And I also want to thank George for being our muse tonight. I'm sure he's really enjoying this. And of course, to all his friends for sharing their awesome stories. And again, I want to thank all of you. You are making it so all kids can play. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, Jamie. She's a real beauty, eh, George?
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, she's
awesome. She's awesome. Yeah, I was actually against her and Theo Fleury in a Battle of the Blades. In that season, we're battling against each other.
And who won?
That year, it was Valerie Bure.
Valerie Bure?
Yeah,
A Russian.
he did. He was amazing. He was amazing.
Was
and
he?
He was very
He
good.
was a great
Yeah.
skater. There's no doubt about it. We got some more money coming in, George. We got some really good donations tonight. Marvin Brown for $125, Brent Johnson for $150, Linda Smith for $100, Frank Santoro for $100, and Dylan Josdo for $120. So thanks to all those folks.
Thank you, everyone.
Now, George, we have a few prizes to give away as well. So I need you to give me some numbers between, say, 1 and 20.
17.
17. And between 20 and 30?
27.
27, of course. Of course. Between 30 and 40?
37.
37, okay.
My number in Phoenix.
Oh, really?
All my numbers. 17 Montreal, 27 Montreal, Pittsburgh, and 37 Phoenix.
That's all your numbers now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3. I need 2 more. So a number between, say, between 50 and 70.
57.
57. Okay, a number between 70 and 95.
77.
77. Paul Coffey. Okay, here's our winners. Scott Fitzgerald, Rick Hewson, Ken Zender, Trevor Philippon, and Tom Duke. And these guys all win these beautiful package from, it's got some juice tea in there. It's got some, it's beautiful package they put together. We want to thank all the folks who contributed to that. And by the way, everybody, you'll be getting a survey in your inbox asking you how tonight went, what you think we can do for the next time. And we just really appreciate everybody who made a contribution tonight. George, thank you so much for being part of this, because we couldn't have done it without you, obviously. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. And it was so nice because I know Marty and Struddy enjoyed being on with you as well.
No, it was awesome, Mark. Thanks for having me. Thanks for hosting this great event. Thanks for the foundation for what you're doing for the kids. Anytime you guys need me, I'll be happy to help out, to do my part. Edmonton is the greatest place to live in Canada because of this. The community always embrace together, there to help out one another. And it was an honor and a pleasure to be playing for the Oilers for that long, and to still call Edmonton home today, even though I've been away for so long. Love you all, guys. Thanks for everything you do. And thanks all of you for all the generous donation you're doing. You're making a huge difference, and it's so important.
And we're going to hear from a former Kids Sport kid now, Nick George, who he's a special guest as well tonight. And he can tell us a little bit of the story about how the dollars that people like you have donated in the past impacted his life.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight at A Night with Kids Sport featuring Georges Laraque, presented by the Love Boys. I'm Nick George, and I'm a past Kids Sport kid. I can't thank you enough for your support tonight. It's because of people like you that I got to receive game-changing, life-altering experiences as a kid through access to sport. First, I'd like to thank all of our partners. It's great to see so many companies show up for Kids Sport kids, especially during some of the hardest times that our community has faced due to COVID-19. A million thanks to all of these companies. I'd like to take a minute to tell you how Kids Sport changed my life. I grew up in Spruce Grove, and I was raised by a single mother. I think I knew from quite a young age that we weren't quite as well off as some of the other families. However, this didn't stop my mom from helping to afford me every opportunity possible. When I was old enough to enroll in the local community basketball program, I begged my mother to let me join it. I remember her taking me to the local rec center to sign up. What stuck out to me most in this process was that we had to fill out a few more forms than some of the other families. My mother explained to me that because we weren't as well off as some of those families, we had to get a little help from an organization called Kids Sport to pay the registration fees. Though I was young, I distinctly remember feeling gratitude towards an organization such as Kids Sport that helps kids play sports. Through sports, I've been given invaluable gifts in life, such as strong mentors, leadership skills, and lifelong friends. These gifts have been crucial in my life's journey, helping me to graduate from university and navigate a professional career at the City of Edmonton. To this day, I still feel so much gratitude towards Kids Sport Edmonton, which is why I choose to volunteer on one of their organizing committees for the Jason Gregor Pizza Pig Out. On that note, I'd like to invite you to the second annual Jason Gregor Pizza Pig Out, which is going to be held on October 30th. Please visit jasongregorpizzapigout.com for more details, and I hope to see you there. And again, to everyone that's here tonight, thanks for your help in making it so I could play sports, and thanks for your help in making it so all kids can play.
Thanks, Nick. That was a great story. We really appreciate that. And by the way, the Pizza Pig Out this year is a drive-in pizza. There'll be movies and drive-ins at Rundle Park. Should be a lot of fun. I want to thank George Laraque. I mean, obviously, we couldn't have done it without George, and he said yes right away when I called him out of the blue. I didn't talk to him for a couple of years, so it was great for him to volunteer to do that. We want to thank all the folks who are on our committee that pulled this all together, but especially our sponsors and the folks who are in the fundraising committee, because sponsors really stepped up this year. And this was, of course, a Night with Kids Sport featuring George Laraque, brought to you by the Love Boys. So thanks to Kevin and Ann Love, who've been great supporters of our charity all through the years and have done a great job just being there when we needed you. We thank you very much. Thanks to Struds and Reasoner for showing up as well. They told some great stories and made this a great night. And I want to thank all of you for watching and being supporters of Kids Sport. So that is nightwithkidsport.com. Keep those donations coming. And here's a few of the other folks who made tonight possible. Thank you and good night.
Just like to say a big thank you to all the corporate sponsors and all the individual donors who have helped support Kids Sport the last year.
You guys have given me the opportunity to be able to grow in a healthy way, and I am so thankful.
I'd like to thank Kids Sport for not only opening the door to access sport, but opening the door for me to change my life.
Those unbelievable skills that you learn and those incredible memories that you have, but more importantly, the character that you develop too, that I'm so grateful for.
It's inspired me to do even better in school so I can hopefully play post-secondary someday.
I hope you know how many kids' lives you've impacted in such a positive way.
I don't care if they bring home the trophy. What I care about is that kid who maybe didn't think they were worth much starts to believe they were worth something. And that's why I'm saying thank you.
I think it's important that we know that all kids should have an opportunity to play sports.
For the past 25 years, we've had the opportunity to put a smile on a kid's face, to let a kid be a kid by helping them access sport.
I hope you continue to support the events or just go online and make a donation. It makes a massive difference.
Thank you, Kids Sport! Woohoo!